Hello and happy Monday. Welcome back to the RPM Garage YouTube channel and welcome back to another episode of Review Mondays. I am standing next to a 2013 Dodge Charger SRT8, and if you're familiar with the Dodge SRT brand, then you're basically going to know that this is the predecessor to everything Hellcat, which means that this is one of the coolest cars that I've gotten to review in a long time because I am a huge Mopar guy and I absolutely love these cars in particular. Today I'm going to explain exactly what makes me love these cars so much, tell you a little bit more about this car specifically, and explain why you should come down to RPM Garage today to check it out, test drive it, and maybe even buy it. Also, I want to ask each and every one of you to just take a second to subscribe to the channel. It would mean a ton to me, and I really hope that you'll do so. With that in mind, let's dive into this amazing machine. Dodge's cars, both past and present, are some of the most instantly recognizable cars on the planet, most particularly in their muscle car lineup, and this 2013 Charger SRT8 is no exception. One of the questions you may have about the Charger SRT8 is how it differs from the standard Charger RT. After all, if it didn't vary much, there wouldn't be much point in buying an SRT8 when you could get an SRT for a bit less money. But there are plenty of differences that make this a significant upgrade over the standard RT and make it well worth the difference in price. There are plenty of things that have been done under the hood to make it a significantly better car, but I won't be talking about those just yet. Instead, I want to talk about the exterior first, and one of the most notable differences between the two are the wheels. Now, on the standard Charger RT, the car receives 18-inch alloy wheels, and those do look quite nice, but on the SRT8, it gets an upgrade with some 20-inch SRT alloys, and they look absolutely stunning on this car. I also think they contrast very nicely with the Redline Tri-Coat Pearl paint. As you can tell, it is a very attention-getting and vibrant paint color indeed, and it looks amazing, like I said, contrasted against these awesome alloy wheels. In addition, the car's platform also receives upgraded brakes. Now, in particular, these are Brembo brake calipers on some slotted rotors, and they are an insane boost in stopping power over the standard Charger RT brakes. But that is not the only platform upgrade that's been done. In addition, the car has also received Dodge's first attempt at electronic adaptive suspension, and I will say Dodge has done a fantastic job with it. Now, this is controlled by the infotainment display inside the car, and I will delve into that a little bit more later down the road when we're talking about the interior. But the general gist of it is that it does stiffen the suspension and makes the car much more easy to control and much more tight handling in performance driving situations, which is very nice to have, especially because these cars do have a reputation for being very heavy and sometimes even a little difficult to control. But I can assure you that with the boosted suspension, it makes this car a handling dream compared to its cousin, the standard Charger RT. This is by no means a stock Charger SRT8 though, as you may or may not be able to tell when it comes to the exterior. One of the upgrades that's probably most notable is the King Kong decal on the side of the car. Now, I personally love it partially because it's a significant difference from the normal Hellcat decals that are attached to the side of non-Hellcat cars, which always infuriates me a little bit because I do not believe in badging your car, particularly anything Dodge, because there should be a huge difference between the Hellcat and non-Hellcat, and there is a huge difference between the Hellcat and non-Hellcat. So if you are an individual that has upgraded your car by putting Hellcat badges on it when it's not a Hellcat, please take them off. For my sake, I beg you. In addition, there's also an aftermarket diffuser at the rear. Now that is significantly less noticeable than the decal on the side of the car, but I think it looks awesome and it adds to the aggression of the car as a whole. And better yet, it adds to the exhaust that pokes out from the back of the car, which has an amazing sound to match these amazing styling features on this car. So please stick around to check that out because it is an awesome sound indeed. With that said then, let's talk about why it's better under the hood as well than the standard Charger RT. So without further ado, let's make that happen. While I've talked a lot about the differences between the Dodge Charger SRT8 and the standard Dodge Charger RT, the biggest difference between the two is right here, and that is the power under the hood. While the standard Dodge Charger RT receives a very powerful 5.7 liter V8 engine that produces somewhere in the realm of 350 to 400 horsepower, the SRT8 receives a 6.4 liter V8 that produces 470 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, and that is a ton for any car, but especially for this car, it is a huge game changer between the standard RT and the SRT8. Now, all of that power is sent to the rear wheels, which means you have the capability to do a lot of very fun things with this car or a lot of very stupid things with this car. And while I can only urge you to do the fun things and not the stupid things, I can definitely see the appeal to doing both. So I ask that you only do them in a safe environment if you decide to on your own time. Now, you of course do have to buy the car for that to happen. So if that's something you're interested in doing, buy it. It's pretty cool. Now, what's cool about this car in addition is that it has a 5-speed automatic transmission. Now, a lot of people are hesitant with Dodge's automatic transmissions, but this is without a doubt one of the fastest shifting automatic transmissions I've ever experienced in my life, which means that you have the ability to absolutely destroy anyone driving a manual transmission car because your shift times will be a fraction of theirs. So again, if you do decide to race this car or do any other performance driving, you are more than capable of delivering the power insanely quickly and using just about every inch of the tachometer up to the red line to deliver power, which is always a major benefit over any car. Lastly, there is a ton of aftermarket support for these engines. So if you aren't satisfied with the large amount of 470 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, there are so many options to boost the power and boost the amazing noise that comes out of this 6.4 if you so choose to do so. If you'd like to supercharge it, most superchargers offer at a minimum about 600 horsepower all totaled when installed on this car. And while we won't do that for you, I can suggest that if that's on your bucket list, this car is more than capable of handling that kind of power, and it honestly makes it that much more fun to drive. As someone who has driven a supercharged SRT8, it's very, very fun indeed. With that in mind then, let's talk about the interior, and then we'll do a startup for you, and then we'll wrap up this video. One of the biggest complaints about Dodges tend to be their interiors, and thankfully, this car is an exception to that rule. A lot of Dodges tend to have very low-end interiors, and that's not true of all Dodges, absolutely, but it is definitely true of some of them. However, this is a definite exception to that complaint. The seats in this car are very nice leather bucket seats that do have some cool SRT stitching on them, and if you do forget that you're in an SRT, it's also on the wheel as well, and the gauges, and they mentioned it on the infotainment system a couple times too. So if you ever wonder what car you're in, don't worry, they'll tell you. There's one other SRT badge as well, and that is over there. So, again, if your passenger forgets that they're in an SRT, the dash will remind them as well. However, I am digressing just a little bit because I am talking about badges instead of features, and there are a lot of them. As you may or may not know, new Dodge Chargers and Challengers receive a ton of features, especially when they're trimmed up to the top trim. And that means that they are very, very comfortable to be in. What people don't often know is that these cars received a lot of those same features as well. So this infotainment display here does have navigation, Bluetooth, a backup camera, and what's called the SRT page. Now, in the SRT page, Dodge has offered you 14-ish different screens that give you different details about the car. You have the option to pull up some gauges that allow you to check your oil temperature, your fuel pressure, and a couple of other cool things. You also have a lap timer, should you so choose to use it. You also have different G-force readouts that you can get for your steering Gs or your acceleration Gs. And you have the ability to control some of the settings of the car. So like I said, this car does have electronically adaptable suspension, and you can throw it into sport mode using the infotainment system right there, which is always a very huge benefit indeed, because I assume you're going to use this car for a lot of performance driving, and there's no shame in doing so. If you do though, definitely throw it in sport to get the benefit of the tighter, stiffer suspension. Other cool things in the interior include this leather steering wheel and the SRT8 gauges. Now I know I did mention that this car does have SRT written on the gauges, but I do think the gauges are a very, very nice touch because they do add just a little bit of cool aggression to the interior that would otherwise be lacking. Now, a big complaint with performance cars is that they tend to be a little lacking in interior space, but this is a Dodge Charger. So, in fact, you have a very, very spacious front seat and an even more spacious back seat, so you are able to have fun with all of your friends and then some. So, if you do decide to carry passengers, you're more than capable of doing so. In addition, I did mention that this does have a 5-speed automatic with very, very fast shifting capabilities, and that is noted here with these paddle shifters or with the gear stick itself. You do have the option to shift either in a sequential manner, going right and left there to switch between gears, or of course you can use the paddle shifters to go up or down gears as well. Like I said, that is a very, very fast shifting transmission indeed. So if you are in some form of race, definitely utilize those features while you can. Now, when we were doing the Jeep Gladiator video, I mentioned that I had never in my life seen volume controls behind the steering wheel, but I had also not spent a whole lot of time driving any sort of Chrysler products. So now, as I am in the interior of yet another Chrysler product, I find that once again, the volume controls are back behind the steering wheel as well, which is very, very cool to me because you do have the standard interior controls here with volume and radio controls, as well as back here, which just means that there is an additional amount of accessibility, and I do love that in any car. With that said, let's do a startup because I cannot wait any longer for you guys to hear the amazing noise that this car produces. Before I start up this car, I have to wrap up this video, and as you may know, affordable performance tends to be very difficult to find, especially in today's current market. With that in mind then, this car is one of your best options. With only 89,000 miles on the odometer and a listing price of only $24,991, you essentially get a first-generation Dodge Charger SRT392 for a fraction of what those cars sell for right now, and that is always one of the best deals you can possibly get. And above all else, you do get the coolness factor of showing up in a V8 powered Dodge Charger that looks pretty stinking awesome, and you do get a very loud noise to accompany it and plenty of power under the hood to show off if you so decide to do so. With that in mind then, I'd like to thank each and every single one of you for watching today's video, and I would really appreciate it if you would also take the time to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel. It means a ton to both myself and the rest of the RPM Garage team, and we would all very much appreciate it if you did just that. I'd also love it if you checked out our Instagram, our Facebook, our TikTok, and the rest of our inventory, all of which will be linked below because we do always want you to find a car that you'll fall in love with and maybe even buy. So please go give those a look as well, and if you find anything, don't hesitate to reach out because we'd love to do business with you. Lastly, like I've said the past couple weeks, we finally have merch in, and I am rocking yet another new design. Now this has the RPM Garage logo on the front and some very, very cool sketch designs on the back. And what I love about these shirt cuts is that it does fit my body very, very nicely. So I look pretty stinking cool in these shirts, and I definitely love wearing them even outside of my job. So if you are in the area and want to pick up a shirt, please come in, check them out, and see if you find one you like. If you do, totally buy it because we love when people rock our merchandise, and we will be selling those online as well, so go check that out as well. With that in mind then, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.